Hello, welcome to Raymond Castile's Basement of Horror. What are we going to look at today? Porcelain dolls. Here's one. We have a Dracula and a Frankenstein. And both of these were made in 1984. By a company called Rene de Lyon. Rene de Lyon didn't actually produce them, they distributed them. These dolls were made in Taiwan, and no one really knows what company produced them. Rene de Lyon was based in San Diego, California, and they say right here on the box that they are the exclusive distributor for these dolls. So they didn't actually produce them, they distributed them. Rene de Lyon was a wholesale distribution company. There's almost no information about them online. There's nothing really but the name and the location, and there's one web page that says they were founded in 1942. I don't know where that information comes from, but I have no reason to think it's not true. Rene de Lyon was known for selling all kinds of knickknacks. So if you search for other items by Rene de Lyon, they made like Christmas knickknacks and a lot of other porcelain stuff. These are porcelain dolls. Just weird junk, all kinds of, it's all junk. Everything they made seems to be just a bunch of junk. And a lot of it is Christmas or holiday related. And I think these items were just a bunch of garbage made in Taiwan or Hong Kong or whatever, just spat out by the truckload or the freighter load. And Rene de Lyon just bought up all this stuff to turn around and distribute it to junk stores, gift shops, whatever, throughout the country. I think they just bought the stuff, turned it around, maybe stamped their name on it, and sold it. So all the other stuff I found online from Rene de Lyon was just cheap junk. So how did they get into the business of distributing big costume porcelain dolls with a universal copyright? I have no idea. These are really out of place in terms of Rene de Lyon's output, at least based on the evidence that exists now. I mean, maybe back in the day, Rene de Lyon were making all kinds of dolls or distributing, selling all kinds of dolls. But I've searched for this a few times. Recently, of course, today, and in recent weeks, knowing that I was going to do an episode about it. But over the years, I've searched for Rene de Lyon online to see just what other stuff they made. And I've never found anything remotely like these two dolls. These really stand alone in terms of Rene de Lyon's output. And they do seem like gift shop items. They're elaborate. They probably were not cheap when they were new, but they seem like something you would have found in a gift shop, or maybe the Universal Studios, theme park gift store, something like that. So here's the box, and this more toys should have, more monster toys should have this coffin shape on them. I was looking at the Toy Island Universal Monsters figures, and by now I've probably uploaded an episode on them, and they come in these coffin shaped cards, and I remarked in that episode more Universal Monsters toys that should come in coffin shaped packaging. This is not coffin shaped, the box isn't, but it has this image on the front, and I really like that. that sets it off. And it is sort of coffin-like, this box. Here's what the box looks like. You can see the information that's on the box. So these are licensed dolls. There's the Rene Lyon information. And what you're looking at right there is almost all that's known about that company. I can't find any information about, well, anything. There's nothing out there. Now, under this Universal Studios copyright 1984, it says licensed by Merchandising Corporation of America, Inc. And I wonder what that is. Merchandising Corporation of America, Inc. There's three different companies on this: Universal, Merchandising Corporation, and Rene Lyon. So a lot of companies came together to bring this to us. Dracula Classic Monster Collection in porcelain. Nothing else inside the box. And here's good old Dracula. You can't see very much there. He's in a bag. Now, when these were brand new, the doll had a plastic fastener around the head, and there was some kind of plastic tight around the head, and there was more plastic, I think, around the hands and the shoes, and I think there was some bubble wrap, and there was a lot of packing when it was new. Now all of that is gone, except for the outer bag. That still exists, and this is the original outer bag as far as I know. There's nothing else inside that box. Oh, well, there is something. This is what I was talking about. See that? So there is that plastic fastener. That's original. And a doll that hasn't been removed from the box will have that around its neck. Now this looks like it popped apart. I don't think anyone cut that. It looks like it just came apart on its own. There's nothing on the back of this box. Let's take this out. I wish I could tell you more about this company. It's a mysterious company. They made a pair of really interesting toys, but that's about all you can say about them. They made these two dolls. There's Dracula. He's very, very elaborate. Get a grip on him somewhere. It's not a Bela Lugosi likeness, although it looks like maybe it's trying to be. I would not call that a Bela Lugosi likeness. But it's interesting that it has that very ordinary kind of a face. It doesn't have fangs. It's not exaggerated. It doesn't have exaggerated eyebrows or a really, really deep widow's peak or pointy ears. It's very naturalistic. So that's why I wonder if they were trying to go for a Lugosi look, even if they. Now at this point, I don't know the timeline of all the legalities with the Lugosi Jr. lawsuits and the laws changing. In 1984, I don't know what the status was about using Lugosi on merchandising. I know when Remco made the Mini Monsters, the law had changed and they were able to put Lugosi on the packaging, but then at some point the law changed again. And when in 1984, I don't know where things stood, if they needed a license to use Lugosi's likeness or not. I mean, obviously they needed a universal likeness license, but I don't know if they needed a actor license at that time. I don't know what year the law changed again. I'm going to put these, if I can, on stands to make it a little easier to talk about him. He's really cute. Just looking at him, he's very elaborate. Let me see if I can, without messing him up. Look at those hands. They're very pale. I like that. Very pale. I don't want to drop him because it's porcelain. His body's stuffed, but it's very firm. It's not like a floppy kind of a doll. It is a stuffed doll with porcelain head, hands, and maybe shoes. The shoes are leather, but I think do they have laces? Yeah. So they're real shoes, but I think there might be porcelain feet in there. I'm not sure. They feel very substantial. Okay, let's see here. If I can get this on the stand, it'll be a little easier to deal with it. Okay, and I can hold him by the stand. You can see his costume a little better. Oh, he's got a pocket square. I didn't know that. Look at that. Very, very elaborate costume. Very fancy. I don't want to undo that knot. What kind of knot is that? Nah, I don't think there's any danger of that. There's no danger of that coming loose. He does have a bow tie, but it's sort of squished under that ribbon that's fastening his cape. It's a full-blown cape. There's his shoes. Real leather shoes. They have soles. Very elaborate. Nice lining on the cape, full lining. It's a very nice cape. But it still has that sort of Azrak quality because he doesn't have like a more screen accurate little collar going straight up, like the short little collar, like, you know, like Lugosi actually had. He's got that bigger collar drooping down, and it's folded over right there. I'm going to keep it like it is. It's really cool. I mean, it's a really neat doll. This doll is not hard to find. They're fairly common. They used to sell for around a couple $100s, but I think they're down into like the $75 to $100 range. They're pretty cheap. You can get them for definitely under 100 if you shop around. Maybe even less than 75. I don't know. I mean, I could actually, from just looking at the prices on these things, I think on a bad day for the seller, you could get it for like 20 bucks. I mean, just given away if no one's bidding on it. But the average price is something like 100-ish. But it's leaning towards the under 100, like the $75 range now. And it's never been expensive. It's always been a fairly inexpensive piece. Yeah, it's never been like a $500 toy or anything like that. It's always been an affordable toy. It peaked around $200 long ago, and then it went back down, and it's never been that high again. And I don't know if it ever will be. There's just not a lot of demand for this thing. It's a great doll. Look at this thing. Look at it. But it's there's no demand. I don't know why. I don't know why. Same thing with the Frankenstein. These dolls have never been in demand. Maybe it's because they are alone. There isn't a Rene D. Lyon line of licensed dolls. There's no Wolfman or a Mummy or anything, or Phantom of the Opera. There's no other celebrity dolls like Rene D. Lyon, Groucho Marx, or Charlie Chaplin, or I'm thinking of like the F&B type celebrity dolls like John Wayne or Marilyn Monroe, or Dorothy from Wizard of Oz, that kind of stuff. There's nothing. There's no larger universe of celebrity dolls or character dolls, licensed dolls. There's just these two. I think that works to their detriment. There's no ecosystem for a collector demand to build around. There's no such thing as Rene D. Lyon doll collectors that specialize in that, because there's just these two that I can see. I mean, they must have made some other generic dolls of some kind, but nothing that's noteworthy, nothing anyone ever talks about. So without that context, I think they've just failed to take off. They've failed to find an audience. And it's too bad, because they're just really nice. Especially this Dracula. I think he's a little better than the Frankenstein, though I may change my mind when I take Frankie out. He is sort of like a giant A-high. He kind of has that look. He's a giant A-high. You can see his bow tie squished under there, crooked. Well, let's put him over here. There we go. Okay, so let's look at the other one now. Let me tidy up a little bit. Prepare ourselves for Frankenstein. And the boxes are nice. They come in these really nice boxes. But nobody cares. They just don't have an audience. There's no demand for these things. Here's Frankie. There's the Frankenstein box. It's a little different. It's all black. It doesn't have that white color fill in the coffin like the Dracula one, or the red letters like Dracula has. It's a little more subdued. It's all black. All black box with sort of a gold bronze lettering instead of red. Like Dracula, this is 1984, Universal Studios, licensed by Merchandising Corporation of America. Exclusive distribution by Rene D. Lyon Company of San Diego, California. And just like the other one, here's the box. It's a little different because of the all black color. The Frankenstein monster. Now they They're careful to say the Frankenstein monster instead of just calling him Frankenstein. And not many toys do that, particularly not at this time, in the 80s. The Frankenstein monster. You didn't really get that. Now, let's put that over here. So here's Frankie in his box, waiting for Abbott and Costello to pull away the straw and find him in there. There's Frankenstein's monster. He looks neat in his box. But let's take him out. And this box does not have the plastic fastener in it. That paper back there has been torn, so the plastic fastener is gone. Here's Frankenstein. He's got some plastic stuck to his neck. It's been there as long as I've had him. I'll talk a little more about that in a minute. He's pretty cool. He's all black. You know, the costume's all black. No green jacket here. No green jacket, no brown jacket, no gray jacket. He's black, like Frankenstein should be. All black. Oh, God. The green jacket, the brown jacket, the gray jacket. What the heck is wrong with people? Frankenstein wears black. For crying out loud. And here we have, this is what he should look like. He's all black. He is a gothic monster. He wears black. He's pretty cute. I think he's got the same hands as Dracula. I'll compare them. I don't know if he has the same pants. His shoes are different. Yeah, he's got different shoes. And let's see his hands. Dracula. It looks like Dracula's hands are a little bit lighter. Dracula's hands are white, basically, and Frankie's hands are gray. But they're very close in color. Let's get him on a stand. He's very substantial. Just the weight of these dolls. They're very firm and they're heavy. And I see Frankie's sweater underneath his jacket is also black. They didn't even give him any color in his sweater. Usually they make that red or green or blue or something. No, that's black on this too. His buttons are black. Everything's black. And I see that his sweater goes all the way to his wrists. He's fully dressed. They spared no expense with this. And you know, that's kind of what you expect with a doll, a collector doll. I think that's the norm, that the doll, you know, would be fully dressed. They wouldn't go halfway with they wouldn't Mickey Mouse around with something like that. He's sort of hanging there. I think that'll work. Okay, here he is. There's Frankenstein's monster. He's very impressive. Both of these are very impressive. Big, very big, bulky. and they would make a statement on a shelf. Now I see Frankie's got laces that are hanging off his shoes, a little more than Dracula did. So here's Frankie again. I got a firmer grip on this stand. I can be a little more confident about the way I'm handling him. And you see that plastic? That is stuck into his neck seam. Well, I don't want to mess with it and start pulling at his clothes, but I remember looking at it in the past, and you can see that little mess hanging over his collar. That's the plastic. It's like it's not bubble wrap. It's it's just like a plastic bag that was covering his head, but the plastic bag, it's actually stitched in. It isn't just covering it. The opening goes inside of his fabric body. So the head is like wrapped in a plastic bag, and then the body, the neck opening is stitched around. I'm sure there's like a rim inside the base of the neck that the fabric body closes around, but it's closing around this plastic bag, and the stitching seems to be like going through the plastic bag. So the bag was actually stitched into the neck connection, and I bet Dracula had something like that too when he was brand new. Very strange way to do that. I wonder, I've seen a picture of a Dracula that has all the packaging and everything. I haven't seen a picture of Frankenstein like that, but that kind of underscores the gift shop quality of these things, where they just, as nice as these are, they spat them out, and it was a lot easier probably to just grab the head with the bag over it already, just stick it on the body and stitch it in place, strange as that is, and then have the owner tear the bag off, and then you have what you have here, these remnants of the bag. That just makes it weirder. That's part of what makes this doll strange. Very elaborate outfit. You can see his black sweater, and it goes all the way to the wrists. On camera, his hands look green. What I'm looking at right here, they look green, but in person, they look gray. You can see his shoelaces hanging down, and he's got thicker soles, as you would expect Frankenstein to have. There's a Hammer-esque quality to this costume. It's obviously supposed to be the universal Frankenstein, but there's something about the costume that seems kind of Hammer-like. Maybe it's all buttoned up like that. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's the size of the lapels. I don't know if there's much to see on behind, but we'll take a look. And that's what the back looks like. Now this likeness, well, it's not a likeness, but this character likeness, let's put it that way. It's not an actor likeness, obviously. It's got the universal trademark scar and the flat head and the electrodes, the elements that make it a licensed universal Frankenstein. So it is the Frankenstein monster. It's got that scar right at the edge of his chin, below his cheek. So it's got that scar and that scar. It's got the clamps. It's got all the right elements. But it doesn't look like any particular actor that ever played Frankenstein. It kind of has a prune face, like Dick Tracy prune face quality. He's kind of chubby looking. It also looks like it could be a theme park Frankenstein. I can imagine something like this walking around a Universal theme park or something in a wax museum. I'm trying to get the shape of his head because the poster is black behind there. It's kind of hard to see. I think, okay, you can see it there. You can see the shape of the top of his head. Very nice shape, the way they sculpted that. The profile is very nice. Yeah, you see that? It's got a very nice profile. And it looks really nice as far as, you know, being a Universal Frankenstein likeness. Until you look right straight on. Then it kind of goes haywire. I mean, as a toy, it looks good, but as a Universal, as an authentic looking Universal sculpt, it's definitely, it takes a lot of liberties there. It's got a kind of a fat face, wrinkled. Reminds me of Dick Tracy's prune face. But I like that he's sad. He's a sad Frankenstein, like he should be. He doesn't have any eyebrows. You're trying to disconnect it from any expectation of looking like Karloff or Strange, and just taking it as a Frankenstein toy. It's pretty darn good. I mean, it's a really cute, cool, Halloween-y Frankenstein toy. It's got a kind of Doom aesthetic. I'm not saying like the video game, I mean just the feeling of Doom. It's a gothic, dark kind of aesthetic. It's not a happy look. It's not lighthearted. And yet it is cute. At the same time, it's cute. I like how bright his hands are compared to everything else. Both of these, they have these very bright. There's no painted texture or anything. They're unnaturally bright, and that kind of works. Now, I was wondering if he had the same pants as Dracula. Dracula has a much more refined costume. It has a sheen. Frankenstein's clothes are very dull, and Dracula's clothes are much more fashionable and have a sheen to them, like you expect a tuxedo to have. Does Dracula have are his pants tuxedo pants with a yes, yes. Look at this. Look at that. See, they're actual tuxedo pants. They got that stripe down the outside edge, like, and I'm sure they're on the inside too, but you can see it on the outside. That's exactly what a tuxedo pants should have, and Frankenstein doesn't have that. He doesn't have anything like that. So yeah, there's no similarity between these two costumes. This is a shiny, sleeker tuxedo, and this is a more workmanlike, drab, rough-looking, I don't know, a worker's suit. Like someone who would be hanging from the gallows and cut down. Yeah, it's a poor person's suit and a rich person's tuxedo, which is what you want to see with Frankenstein and Dracula. Frankenstein has always been a working class monster, and Dracula is an aristocratic monster. So there they are, the two monsters, Dracula and Frankenstein. I guess you could make them fight, but they probably wouldn't last long because these are porcelain heads and porcelain hands, and who knows what's inside of these shoes. But they're not made to be played with. They're made to be displayed like this, to sit on a shelf. I have no idea what the intended market would have been. I'm assuming gift shops, boutique stores. I don't know. maybe theme parks, maybe the Universal theme park. Universal had its own Frankenstein doll that I do have. It's an 80s doll. It's roughly the same era, and I think it's the same height as these things, but it's bulkier. It's much more toy-like, and it's got a vinyl head, and it's definitely the Universal theme park Frankenstein. So I don't know if Universal would have sold these. If you saw these at the Universal theme park in California or Florida, wherever, let me know. If you ever saw these in a store, let me know. Because I'm thinking that these would be something maybe like Hallmark might have, or I don't know, a flower shop or something like that that would have like a corner with some dolls and stuff that you would buy as gifts. They're very odd. I'm not sure where you would have found these for sale. And I don't know how much they would have cost when they were new. The Dracula that I found online, it was untouched, had all the plastic on them still, on the head and the shoes and everything. That was found in San Diego, where the company is. So I don't know, maybe they were very localized. Maybe the market for these was very local to San Diego. Maybe they didn't get out very far. I don't know. There's no information on these things. They're from 1984, been around a long time, but nobody knows anything about them. At least nothing online, that's for sure. No one's ever talked to me about them and told me. I mean, I have brought these up over the years many times. I had them in the UMA toy exhibit at one point, but no one ever had any information on, well, what was the story with these things? Why did they make them? Where did they sell them? They're pretty unique. I don't know of any other dolls quite like these. Universal Studios costumed porcelain dolls of Frankenstein and Dracula. Sideshow made their premium format figures, and I think they're taller than these. But those are definitely statues with clothes on. Those aren't dolls. The early ones, they're kind of dolls. They've got the way they were constructed, but they might as well be statues. These are definitely dolls. These are porcelain dolls. These are dollies. I don't know of any other serious-looking Universal Monsters porcelain collector dolls. There are some other kiddie dolls, funny dolls, but not serious-looking dolls like these. And that might be an opportunity if someone wants to make a line of collector dolls, licensed collector dolls, large scale, stuffed bodies and a porcelain head and hands, but make them more serious looking. And I mean, these are serious looking, but make them more authentic looking, with a Lugosi likeness and a Karloff likeness. But today it would get stuck with some goofy color on the suit, and who knows what else they'd have to do. So it doesn't matter. We've got these vintage monster items from the 80s. Very unlike anything else that was around back then. The Andrew Lloyd Webber Phantom of the Opera musical produced a couple of dolls. There was just a straight up doll like this of the Andrew Lloyd Webber Phantom, and then there was a musical doll on a music box that moved around. And I've had both. Right now I just have the standard doll. I sold the music box one. I've actually been looking to get that back. I've been watching prices on those on eBay, trying to catch a good price on one of those and get it back. But as far as really dark, serious-looking monster porcelain dolls, there's not a lot. There's not a lot. There's these and that Andrew Lloyd Webber Phantom, and I think that's it. I don't think there's anything else like this. Not like these. So given that they are so unique, why don't they catch on? Why don't they catch on with collectors? I mean, they're wonderful. Look at these things. Look at these things. They're fantastic. They're beautiful. Look at this stuff. Gosh. Frankenstein at one point, there was a point where he was getting up there because he was very hard to find. But he didn't stay up there very long. I think there was a point maybe in the 90s when he got up into the 500 range for a minute, and he went right back down. So he is more like a $200 toy, and he is more like a $75 to $100 toy. And even 200, I think, is pushing it, maybe 150. They're just, nobody wants them. Nobody wants them. Frankenstein is the harder one to find. Dracula is pretty easy to find. And you can find the Frankenstein. He's not readily available, but he's out there. You can definitely find him. And when you do, he's going to be cheap. I guess that's good for you if you want them. You might as well take advantage of that, because maybe one day they'll catch on. They won't be cheap anymore. So if you want them, now's the time to get them. I've had these a long time, at least 20 years, probably longer. Much longer, actually, much longer. I think I got both of them in the 1990s, like mid-90s. I like them a lot. I think they're great. I think they're wonderful dolls. And I'm happy to have them. I haven't looked at them in years and years and years. They've been in these boxes for a good decade or so since the last time I pulled them out and took a look. So it's good to see them again, because you can't really see them in the boxes. It's good to see them, just be reminded of how nice they are. I guess that's all we need to do today. That's it. Well, thank you for watching. If you want to see more of these shows and you want to know when they're uploaded, please subscribe to the channel. And if you want to continue talking about monster toys, you can go to our Facebook group. You'll find a link in the description. So come to our Facebook group, the Basement of Horror Facebook group. Join that group. It's a great bunch of people, and I think you'll have a good time. And then during weeks where there's no Basement of Horror episode to watch, you can talk about monster toys in that group, and you can show your monsters. You don't have to just look at what I show. You can show your monsters in the Basement of Horror group. I've been watching Billy sleeping over there. He has not decided to grace us with an appearance today, but he's sleeping very soundly right there. I can see him. You can't. I can. I can see his little ears twitching. It's always nice to see him, but we're not going to see him on the show today. We have reached the end of the show, and he is still sleeping. Okay, that's it. Thank you for joining us. Until next time, the one who dies with the most toys is dead.